Welcome to this explainer. Look, I want you to just close your eyes for a second. Imagine you're stepping off a boat. Your boots sink into the damp, unforgiving earth of the southern wasteland island. Instantly, it hits you, this overwhelming, suffocating scent of raw blood and thick sea salt, just invading your lungs. You see, you aren't just a visitor here, you're a hunter. But you're in a world where the entire ecosystem is dictated by one thing: appetite. The air feels heavy, the wildlife is literally lethal, and the very environment, it feels like it's sizing you up for a meal. We're diving into a reality defined by extreme, almost grotesque consumption. You're stepping down into a world that wants to eat you just as much as you want to eat it. So, when does the hunger stop being a choice and start becoming you? See, at the very beginning of your journey, there's this undeniable thrill, right? Pure optimism. You track down a gal alligator, a beast far deadlier, far more heavily armored than you ever expected, and you actually conquer it. You're the apex predator. And that high, that rush of the hunt, it pushes you further. It all culminates in this incredible encounter with the rainbow fruit. I mean, the aroma alone is so intensely intoxicating, it literally hypnotizes the giant apes guarding it. It mesmerizes animals to the point of outright hallucination. You take a bite. The flavors just melt into your mind. It feels like victory. It feels like you made a choice. But underneath it all, your own biology is actually making a choice for you.
And that brings us to gourmet cells. These are microscopic entities that force the host's body to rapidly and violently evolve through the consumption of exquisite, dangerous flavors. We aren't just talking about a fast metabolism here. We're looking at a microscopic parasite originally derived from a deep-sea jellyfish that is fundamentally rewriting your DNA. And these cells? They are demanding. They demand higher-tier flesh. They force your body to rapidly, violently evolve, but only if you feed them exquisite, incredibly dangerous flavors. The hunger isn't just in your stomach anymore. It's cellular. It's driving you to absolute extremes, forcing you to literally carve your way inside the belly of a mountain-sized regal mammoth just to find the next evolutionary trigger. You are no longer just eating to live. You are living to feed the cells inside you.
The meat shines like glass. You're navigating this dark, suffocating maze of giant intestines inside the beast, and then you find it, the jewel meat. It shines like glass. It's this absolute masterpiece of marbling, bursting with an unnatural golden luminance. And the second you consume it, the sweetness just explodes through your body like fireworks. But then, the real consequence sets in. Your gourmet cells react so violently to this high-tier ingredient that a golden light literally begins to radiate from your very skin. You are physically glowing in the dark. You're becoming the food you consume, visibly altered by the sheer, unadulterated violence of your own appetite.
Negative 100 degrees Celsius. Suddenly, the world pushes back. You are abruptly dropped into a barren, blinding wasteland known as ice hell. Negative 100 degrees Celsius, the tone of the hunt shifts instantly. We go from an intoxicating feast to desperate, escalating pressure. The winds here, they don't just blow. They feel like physical spears piercing right through your flesh. You're no longer the apex predator, you're prey to the elements. Your core temperature plummets, and the environment just effortlessly strips away your invincibility in a matter of minutes.
Let's look at the decay of the body. 1 hour in, loss of thermal gear. 3 hours, microfrostbite. 5 hours, severe caloric depletion. Time becomes your inescapable enemy here. Just 1 hour in, a violent explosion completely strips away your thermal gear. You are shirtless in a sub-zero hell. 3 hours in, microfrostbite begins claiming your extremities. 5 hours in, your caloric depletion is severe. To survive, you are forced to violently shiver. You're generating intense heat from sheer muscle friction, literally tearing your own muscle fibers, just to keep your heart beating and melt the ice that's freezing your right arm solid. It is a grueling, agonizing grind. Your body is burning through absolutely everything you've ever consumed just to buy you a few more minutes of life.
10,000. Then comes a completely new kind of horror. 10,000. That is the number of carnivorous insect eggs the adversary standing in front of you is incubating inside his own stomach. He's using his internal body heat to hatch them, physically vomiting swarms of thousands of hard-winged bugs to tear the flesh right off your bones. The psychological dread of watching a man birth a swarm of death from his own mouth, it's paralyzing. You are surrounded, you're drowning in a sea of mandibles and wings. And your energy? It is entirely spent.
Autophagy. This is the extreme physiological process where a starving body begins to violently consume its own cellular flesh for energy. You reach the absolute limit. When the body has absolutely no more food to burn, the gourmet cells don't just shut down, they turn inward. With this heavy, sinking dread, you realize that to survive this insect swarm, you must literally eat yourself from the inside out. Your body begins self-digesting its own cellular flesh just to give you one final burst of power. You push through the swarm, but the cost is completely irreversible. You sacrifice your own left arm, blown completely away in the chaos, just to deliver a fatal tenfold strike to your enemy. You win, but you are literally consuming your own identity to do it.
Just one drop. Then, the violence stops. You collapse. The emotional and physical exhaustion is absolute. You're missing an arm, your cells are completely starved, and your very sense of self is eroding into nothingness. You are saved, not by your own strength, but by a sheer miracle of nature. The massive ice tower above you crumbles, and from the sky, a singular final drop of the century soup falls. Just one drop. It hits your lips, offering this warmth and complexity that pulls you back from the absolute brink of death. You survive. But the you that started this journey, that person was left behind in the snow.
Moving on to our next section, the gourmet world, the collapse of scale. Nighttime is when the 8 kings reign supreme. You can tell what kind of mood they were in by looking at the footprints. If the human world was a test, this place is the abyss. Crossing the border into this uncharted territory, you experience an absolute collapse of scale. Everything you thought you knew about physics, about biology, it's all wrong. Here, giant dark clouds resembling actual slabs of iron fall from the sky to crush the earth. The mountains exert unimaginable gravity. Late-stage paranoia sets in. Nighttime is when the 8 kings reign supreme. This isn't local folklore, guys. It's a terrifying reality. You walk through a barren wasteland, completely stripped of life, and you suddenly realize it's just a single footprint, left behind thousands of years ago by one of the 8 kings, the absolute apex predators of this world. Complete terror washes over you as the oppressive, crushing aura of a beast that isn't even there forces you right to your knees. You realize humanity is nothing but a microscopic speck in a hostile, utterly indifferent universe.
The cycle of the 4 beasts goes like this. Step 1. Awaken from millennia of hibernation. Step 2. Harvest human populations. And Step 3. Wait for the gourmet eclipse. Eventually, the universe comes knocking. The ancient 4 beasts awaken from the gourmet world to invade the human world, and their cycle is brutal and simple. Awaken, harvest humans like literal crops, and wait for the eclipse. The tension reaches an absolute breaking point. Poison rains down, your allies are broken, and traditional strength completely fails. To beat them, you are forced into a terrifying state of ultimate starvation. You must deprive your gourmet cells to the absolute brink of death just to manifest your deepest, darkest survival instinct.
The hunter versus the consumed. In your ultimate starvation, the hunger actually transcends your physical body. It manifests as this massive spectral mouth. You don't just fight the 4 beasts, you devour them from the inside out. You swallow their energy, their flesh, their very existence, until these unimaginable monsters are reduced to nothing but tiny scraps of meat, and the world is saved. But as the giant mouth fades, you are left in a heavy, incredibly uncomfortable silence. You have become the very monster you were hunting.
You are nothing but hunger. The aftermath is just too quiet. You return to the human world, a celebrated hero, sitting inside a manufactured paradise of sponge sugar and premium candy. The doorknobs are chocolate, the walls are sponge sugar. But the violence of your journey, it remains in your blood. Your arm was regrown, sure, but your cells were permanently altered. You realize you are nothing but hunger. You and your friends sit in the dark, and instead of cooking, instead of celebrating, you silently begin to gnaw on the walls of your own house.
So what remains when the hunt is over? You stepped onto that first island looking for a thrill, right? For flavor, for evolution. But the gourmet cells did their job a little too well. You hollowed out your own humanity for an appetite that can never, ever be satisfied. You survived ice hell, you consumed the 4 beasts, you walked in the literal footprints of gods. But now, sitting in the quiet dark, eating the very walls that shelter you, you really have to wonder, did you conquer the food chain, or are you just trapped, forever, inside the endless maw? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Until next time.